Okay, welcome to the podcast, Young Zerch, the Zerch who sells the
Young
merch.
Turk.
Welcome to the contrast.
Yeah, from the dirts. The search that's on the search in the dirt.
So, uh, so first of all, you are in Japan right now, right?
Yeah.
What part of Japan exactly?
I'm in I'm on like the borderline of Tokyo and Kanagawa, which is like where Yokohama, like a lot of like mountainous regions, volcanic region, uh,
Mm.
halfway between the ocean and halfway between the mountains.
Hmm, a nice little
And
middle part right there. And what exactly? How do you survive there? How do you get by?
Mm, like working,
Yeah.
making money, selling my time, teaching, designing, doing like
teaching.
little projects,
Mm.
And
Yo, Ziri,
making bets on the aspect of games, like a
are
Smash
you
Bros.
are you living a lavish life, man, in Japan?
I mean, I got all these pets and friends with me, so yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I got my kids with me, my babies, trying to
Yeah.
raise them. I'm raising them Japanese and English, American, and
Mm.
they're gender neutral babies.
Here's a random question. Here's a random question. If you had children, where would you raise them? Real children.
Yo, I wanted to ask this,
Yeah,
dude. Perfect
true. Oh man, I would say both, but actually, America, you would get America. We have a lot of things about us that, depending where you're from, you have a lot of traits and a lot of adversity that gives you a lot of opportunity to build your character. Here, it's kind of like people have a lot of things, but I would say the older generations were more grateful because they had less things. But when you live in a society where you have like peace on the outside, but internal conflicts, that's hectic and mentally damaging. But America, it's like you have both. You have the interior issues. You have like people who are basically persecuted for being who they are, like holding an opinion that's different than the masses. Like it'll be interior shit. It'll be like people who apparently look like you. It'll be people who don't look like you. You will really get tested a lot more. So the more you get tested, the more adversity you face, the more you can figure out what your values are and who you are. So I would say the core would be in America, and then the supplementary would be in Japan. But language wise, it would be good to be fluent in both and be able to think and process in both languages. So it would be good to like move around, bounce around. But the people here, like America, took away a lot of their ability to fight for themselves
Yep.
and like build up like adequate defense. And I met like a parent, a father, Japanese guy, friend of mine, and he has a 3-year-old son. And I teach kids now, so like I talked to his son and I taught his son like 4 or 5 English words in like 20 minutes that he never heard, and then how to use them, and got him into like a rhythm, and was playing with this kid. And was really happy and everything. And I asked the guy like, "Oh, did you ever show your son that quirky Azuki bean bread superhero named Anpanman?" And he's like, "Why would I show my son such a weak hero? Like, if his face gets smeared, his powers are like all gone, and he goes to be like super weak. And like, what am I going to teach my son with those values? What kind of superhero is that to live up to?" And I said, "That's true." And I thought to myself, like, fuck that character. And when I grew up, like, characters were a lot more fucked up, a lot more, like Batman. We had a conversation about this. Batman was fucking people up. Batman was a hurt person hurting people. They killed his family. And then he would just beat the shit out of people and drop them off of buildings and shit, break their... He put people in wheelchairs. And it wasn't, legal to do. Like, he wasn't all the way a good guy. The guy was like a guy that had enough privilege to get away with fucking people up. But it's like those guys were like already so off the Richter that it's like the fact that he fucked them up based on what they were doing, it's like they couldn't really like counter claim against him. But I feel like in a way, if it was this society and Batman existed, people would like find a way to cancel Batman or like try to find a way to like be like, well, Batman and Batman is just a rich guy that is and no one should have that much money. Bruce Wayne. It's like people would find a way to like kind of attack, break him down. But that might make him the next president. He'd be a good president.
I mean, we kind of see it. I feel like the closest person to Batman right now is probably Elon Musk. But I guess he gets
you feel
more
like it?
Yeah, he gets more comparisons to Tony Stark, I guess.
Yeah, it's similar. Those are pretty similar characters. But even like now, like how you said, how the Mao changed the characters to mean a whole new thing by simplifying them. Like Disney and all these franchises are simplifying the Marvel characters to make them some shit that they weren't originally representing. Also with DC, like they're taking our characters and twisting them up and changing the messages to the kids, man.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
There's no media, there's no manga, anime. They keep changing the fucking messages to like not have one solid narrative that shows you like someone's character. Like when your back's against the wall and you're getting broken and like you're getting fucked up, what decisions do you make? Like what kind of person are you gonna be? Like what are your core values? And like the core values of the heroes, like back even in the 90s, they still had like morals. Like Spider-Man, that dude was like taking all the shit from a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah, he was like still had swag, getting bitches and stuff, but he never used power to like get clout. He would do it as Spider-Man, but as who he was in real life, like he took so much shit from all the people.
Yeah, we were just talking about
things.
this. Me and Fedor were talking about like some superheroes and like how they don't always thank you, and I brought up Spider-Man. Exactly the same.
Yeah, but I wanna add a little bit because we like last night. Yeah, we had a conversation with Tarik about this, like the power of masses right now, cancel culture, and Joe Rogan, and in this reality. So I brought this idea why he switched to Spotify is because if this power that he has, like almost 10 million subscribers. He might just get canceled in a second. Because as how this sheeple, well, not all of them are sheeple, but I gotta be clear, all of that army follows the leader. 1 second, the army just turn up on Joe and be like, "Yo, Joe, no, you're gonna get canceled." So at the same time, I feel that exactly that's why those big like comic studios like Marvel and DC been simplifying characters, because at least how I feel about it, the first point would be is just like, yeah, you cannot really hold one position in our world today. You gotta be that fence sitter, you gotta sit on the fence and like look like on the both sides. Oh yeah, I gotta be on this twist all the time. So that's the first point. And the second one is just like, yeah, unpredictability. You never know what might happen. That's why you cannot be like, I want to save the world, or like, I support diversity. But then, boom, something happens. You're not diverse anymore. You get what I'm saying, Ziri?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of dealing with that situation, but today something funny happened. Like, I went to the sake shop in Kanagawa, like a little bit. It's not even like 20 miles away from where I live. It might be 20 at the most. But like, I go out, see this old lady. She looks at me. I look at her. And then she said, "Oh, Brackman." And I look at her. And I like throw up the piece. I was like, yeah. She throws up the piece like, oh. She had like her hair like kind of permed, and she had an afro on her head. It was crazy.
Yeah, Japan is unique like that. I would say, like, I think, I don't know, yeah, the numbers, but I would say Japan has a lot of people who like black people in like this weird way,
It wasn't like, it was like a positive situation, but it was just funny the way she said everything. Like, like the way people interact with me on a day to day, like more so recently, it's just like been hilarious.
Yeah, like last
But
night.
Like talking about Kanye West and shit.
Yeah, but could you tell us? Yeah, because I've been watching a lot of videos like black artists, especially from America, living in Japan and their experience. And I just made this comparison with China, where otherwise we don't have this amount of people, like, of creative people, regardless of the race, living here. And Japan is such a unique country in this regard. So yeah, Ziri, could you tell us a little bit about your experience, and why did you even move to Japan? That's the first question.
I mean, my family's like come to Japan before, so like before me, 2 generations ago, like, let me think, about 70 years ago, like my grandfather came to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote about it in one of his books. Like, he used to write a lot. He was a minister. And he spoke highly of the Japanese people, and there were other people that he worked with that were also ministers and people in the community of his era. And like joining the Air Force, like forging his like self-identification and lying about his age to get into the army. He watched all these American movies about cowboys and Indians and John Waynes and all these like movie star heroes, and he started imagining that, hey, I'm a cowboy. Like, little did he know Like we're actually the Indians, like the Indians, the Native American people. So people were back then they would go to a movie and they get all the way brainwashed, and then they'll jump on a plane and then put on the uniform and then like fight for, you know, whatever purpose. Like they think that it's for America, they think it's for themselves, and it's gonna put their life forward, and then give them opportunity. But you know, starting in Virginia, it's a beautiful place. You know, I was like well connected to New York. I made really frequent trips up and down the coast, DC. You know, stopping off, driving up and down, biking every city. But you know, from being in America, being in Virginia, dealing with that certain specific societal tension and then pressure, like at all times, and you know, knowing that there's like other places in the world, and just learning Japanese and having my grandfather as a role model who already did it and made it, you know, possible, and seeing that it was possible, I just kind of, you know, it's like a family tradition.
Wow.
Like he wanted to live here, so he asked his superiors in the army and during the Korean War if he could, you know, go to American village that they built and stay in Japan and live his life, because that was the first time his skin was jet black. Like he's darker than me by many shades. So, you know, we mostly look the same, but growing up in Virginia, he had witnessed so much abuse of black people, and so many people like trying to like attack his mother, attack his family, like his family and grandmother going through like pain, and like his grandmother burned up in her house like while he was out like fighting in the war, and he felt suicidal. And while he was in Japan, he felt that was the first time as a human being people were kind to him, like without all the weight of like this racism thing, without all this like, negative campaign about, you know, black people are this, black people are that. There were definitely soldiers and people who were in Japan when he was in Japan, and would tell the Japanese people like, if you touch their skin, it'll rub off on you, and your hands will be black. And people made up a lot of like legends about black people, but people, you know, just when they meet people, regardless of race, regardless of all those outside factors, you know, people have decency and, you know, like to feel that, or like feel some aspect of that culture, and have peace and be able to like learn from people here, and to look at their struggle, look at their history, surviving 2 bombs with the force of 20,000 tons of TNT dropped on 2 of their cities. You know, Little Boy and Fat Man, they named the 2 missiles. They dropped twice on them, and Japan always found a way to build back up. And the Japanese people have made so much progress and created and innovated so many processes that it's insane for America to not look back and say, where did we get lazy? Like, where did we start this shit and then y'all motherfuckers took it over and made it better? Like, where do we keep dropping the ball? And it's like kind of that aspect of the over rampant individualism in America to an extent, and then everybody, they want to like get the benefits of shit, but they don't want to, you know, go through the trials and tribulations and then just a constant generational um, disruption of the black communities and like minorities, and specifically black people in America who are descendants of slaves. Like it's a system that's based on, you know, putting people in this economic situation where they have to hustle, they have to do something that breaks the law for them to live a decent life, knowing that the labor that we have put into the world and the things that we contributed to help everybody, but there hasn't been a time or place or people who have ever like compensated like that work, and it made Europe 1,000 times richer than when they started. So once you put people 1,000 times richer, and then other people don't have like basic like food, shelter, clothing, then you put drugs in the community, you put guns in the community, you put disease in the community, and you know you're gonna get a bad situation. But they changed the laws, especially in the 90s, 80s. Like people like us that just were free thinkers, and people who had like some knowledge and came to other people, especially people within our community, on a respect level. Like you would just see like, all right, the drug thing is $1 billion business. So we don't have jobs, and like if we get jobs, they're gonna be racist to us, whether we're in New York or whether we're in Mississippi. Like usually people are gonna try to like flex their nuts on you, but it's easier to work with and for like one yourself, and in cooperation with other people who have like similar values and goals, or similar piece. It's easier to work with those people than work for people who don't want you to have a decent life. They just want to keep their business running at the cheapest price they can for the longest time.
Yeah.
And not being able to have time to think about your life because you're working all the time. So you're working all the time. You don't have time to like make educated decisions. So like next thing like, and if it was like 20 years before we were born, like in that generation, we would probably join the army. We would have probably been in those like hustling gangs. We would have probably just stood up for somebody who was getting attacked and end up in jail like for a long time. Like we might not even be doing that stuff. We might be really trying to do the right thing. But the way the system is set up is like they had a guy who was an immigrant coming from Jamaica. His name was like Mecca Unique. And this dude grew up in Jamaica during like all these gang wars, was a child soldier, got rights to come to New York and like basically come as an immigrant, moves into Harlem. Everything and all the trauma and shock that he experienced from childhood in Jamaica just makes him like a beast in a Harlem jungle. And he has experiences that other people don't have. And if you have any experiences with firearms and guns and shit, especially in a city where people can't even have that, it's gonna put you in you're gonna be moving tactically. Your eyes move different, like your body moves different. Like you carry like different reflexes. But some of those people, like see the society and whatever truly grabs freedom that we were talking about, and with the preamble, we the people, in order to form this more perfect union, we're trying to establish justice for ourselves and ensure domestic tranquility in a situation and in a environment that is not peaceful. So in order to do that, you have to protect yourself. Like the police only come after the shit's done. The police come after like everything's finished just to like take a record of what happened based on what someone says. And like that's kind of the thing too about this whole not canceling movement, but I guess the Karen thing. It's like the
Please call the
fact
cops.
that up until
Please call the cops.
the time where everyone had a phone at all times, people would never take the word of a black person
Please tell them whatever you like.
seriously. Like your eyewitness testimony was always the lowest valued opinions, the lowest valued ideas, and it's just based on like that trauma and this false narrative that like we didn't contribute to anything, like knowing damn well we motherfucking made a lot of this shit that's out here, and we contributed, and everybody contributed, like all people in all walks of life. But when you push a narrative that falsely promotes and gives one group of people all this credit and all this like basically false self-esteem, false confidence, with a direct and deliberate, what would it be like? It's like a direct and deliberate brainwashing scheme to break down people's self-confidences, like that shit. That's what we're really talking about. But we're really not even ready to have that conversation because you got knuckleheads joining up, trying to do this fake ass, weak ass, one level trolling. And it's like when a real troll goes and sees this stuff, and we're like, "Hey, we know what you're doing, dude." Like this is like a really low level, like quasi scheme type shit. Like this is the oldest trick in the book type shit. And it's like what we're talking about is like a historical, evidence-based, case-by-case, monetary, like these points can be proven back to the Keizai thing. On an economic level, we can prove that this has happened based on the intake and profits made from cotton, goddamn tobacco, cocoa, sugar cane, these things that we've been chopping. My grandfather grew up on a plantation in his days, 1900s. He grew up on a plantation picking cotton as a kid. Slavery had been over for years and years and years. But people were still living this rural like lifestyle where, they were basically sharecropped. They were still in slavery. So like, even out of slavery, you put people back in slavery. And then you discredit and you stop them at every turn of the way. You're going to get problems, man. You're going to get problems. Because people, based on genetic, analysis, are, basically coming from one single species. But when you create these like false narratives of like skin tone, meaning intelligence, or skin tone meaning ability, or you start creating these negative stereotypes, you're going to have problems. But, there's also positive stereotypes that I run into from a daily basis, but they're usually shallow and naive. But like the true history is like one of the greatest stories ever told. And if only America would list all its contributing members and everyone's talent and give people a decent shot at making a living and having their own businesses without being undermined by, like, one, their own community sometimes, two, the freaking powers that be, who, so to speak, three, just the whole fucking system at large, for the education system teaching that false shit. It's like, man, like, people need reforms and some like truer global perspective of history, but at the same time we have to like preserve all the things that have happened. Like, yo, what about these people history made them so vital to their nation, so vital to their people, so vital to the world? Maybe this motherfucker did some wrong shit, but what techniques, what knowledge did they use in order to form their opinions and then change the world? Where did it go wrong? What should not be? Like, now it's like completely, it's like the burn the books thing. Like the I guess Mao Zedong's era. It's like burn the books. Like, okay, now you burned all the books. Now you don't know what mistakes people made or what stories they were trying to tell and like push for it. I want to keep alive the old shit just to go back, because once you go back and see what people were doing, like, we have the technology to see what kind of movies were people making 100 years ago. What were the messages? Like, what was Birth of a Nation about? It was about the uprising of conscious former enslaved people of African descent who were brought to America with the intention to be used for labor. Those people being freed, having all the skills to build their own homes, to build the infrastructure of cities, to actually lay the brick and mortar for homes, build all these communities up. And then after they mastered these arts, basically like steel working, all the most useful skills that America used to have, like before everything got outsourced, those people mastered their crafts. And from the skills and the trials and tribulation, labor gained the mental capacity to manage things beyond themselves. So they made their art form. Now they say, I can manage my community. I can manage this district. So in North Carolina, Virginia, like a lot of different areas, there's prominent acts coming up and, running for office. So now we're like talking about people's right to vote. Like, Black people did not have the right to vote. So what happened and what all the politicians end up fighting for, it's like the Black vote, and then they're fighting for the poor white vote. But right now, suppression is happening even within the Black Lives Matter and the Black communities, to the point where they're silencing and taking away the rights that ancestors fought and died for in order to give all the people these rights. And like, when people's families come from overseas, a lot of people, like refugees and people who immigrate to America, they get the benefits of all the laws that were changed because people were fighting for civil rights in different dimensions. Yet in America, they systematically displaced the people who really started from the bottom and like have been at the bottom for a long time. So Black and white, like, those people a lot of them are still stuck in ignorance, but a lot of people are like waking up and have been awake and had consciousness, have skills, and don't have a chance. They don't have a chance to like express themselves. So like all those bigger problems in America, I was looking at for years and years. Started training with guns. I started looking up different groups of small like, political movements, talking to different people, youth of my age, people who are the descendants of political activists who fought for freedom, and examining those guys' backgrounds and histories, and not necessarily agreeing with people, but even like years ago, I was like in certain zones, and people would come at me like, even on Facebook, like threatening and talking about like violence and based on political things, because I started friending and connecting the dots to people who were spreading like information and certain narratives, and seeing how the elections were being swayed and people were kind of like getting really, really extreme. So I saw like a lot of crazy shit happening. Our like ends with like police in America. Like had my car run off the road before. Like been chased. Like some of my friends had guns pulled on them. Like a lot of shit with America. I want to get out of there. Want to see the world. Been traveling different countries, and now I've come to Japan to kind of give back to the culture that's given a lot to me and like given a lot to my family. So to be here, it's like back as I connected to my grandfather. It's like living his dream. Two, it's pushing myself away from all the negative cycles that America has gone through, and coming back to Japan and looking at the things that I admire and doing a thorough investigation on like what can I learn and take away and bring back to my people and like bring back to people in America, but also what can I remind people here in Japan that maybe they're forgetting, and just asking these like basic like questions. And I took a note, and one of the things I wrote is that history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. Going back through history, we can see that there's like all the biggest audio companies. Like if I ask you what's the most popular car company, if I ask you, like you might probably say what?
I don't know. Lamborghini? Probably not though. I'm not much
Nah,
into
like
cars.
I would say Toyota.
no, I'm just Toyota. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like just a car, like that's gonna go somewhere. But even if you look at like, I'm not sure if it's Lamborghini or Ferrari, like their motors are made by Honda and shit now. So the way that the Japanese technology is being pushed and pushed constantly, it's like I want to get in on learning the ways in which they master these art forms of innovation.
Damn, I'm just like I'm speechless, man. It's a heavy load on my shoulders, Fuck.
So it's a heavy load in the world.
So
Tarik, jump in, man.
yeah, it's a lot to take in, even for me. It's like you just summed up like the whole like the yeah, like the whole
The whole podcast, the whole and another free man that's coming.
like you covered so
Yeah.
many topics in one like
That was
long
that was a
essay.
lot of topics.
But it makes sense though because they were all linked and like it came full circle. So nah, it was
Yeah.
good. It was good. But
Man.
Yeah.
let's so now we got the history. We understand kind of like where you come from intellectually and philosophically. But like what about artistically? like where do you get a lot of your inspiration? And I don't know if you have like your art book. If you could show some stuff that you've drawn, that would be cool too.
Uh, I got shit somewhere. Like for like the artistic way, everybody is well. Let me see. I don't want to say everybody. I'm about to say some really, really broad shit, but everybody is influenced by certain artists. Like there's certain people in history, like I was saying, like some of the motherfuckers were fucked up. Like a lot of the world's leaders, but they changed some shit. And now the shit is the way it is because something that they changed. So I would say Walt Disney is one big name when it comes to art. And I'm highly influenced by like Disney, obviously. And then after Disney, I would say Tezuka of Japan, who was super influenced by Disney, who made Astro Boy and all these, like basically made the Godfather of manga.
Yeah.
And actually, I've learned about people before him, but I'm just a historian when it comes to like visual styles. So I'm highly influenced by like the Godfathers. I would say the Godfather. So Disney, like fucking, I would say Stan Lee even.
Yeah.
Like the way he's Kirby, Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby.
I would say, man, Toriyama Akira, fucking Sakurai, who made Kirby and all the Smash Brother games, like Nintendo, Namco, all of them dudes. Like basically video game stuff, but it all connects to Disney essentially. Like most of those characters have some similarity to Disney, like some dimension, some way that the character is built. It could be red. Who wears a red overall, like outfit? Like who wears red pants with like with two buttons on them? Like you could think of a couple of characters like that. Like who wears, who has a circular head with more circles in their head and face? Like a lot of those guys. Who's just a circle in general? So it's like all these shape-based characters. And then as a kid, I would make my own characters up. And I still remember them. I still have them like in my heart. And they were just like shapes. Like I made a character named Heartman who cared about people. And then he had a girl. She was Heartwoman, and she nurtured all living souls. And then they would fight all these other types of characters who were just different shapes, and they would also be allied together. And their head would just be the shape, and then their body would be like super strong and like bulky and stuff. But they were really gentle type people, and they stood for justice and peace.
Yo,
So
I have a big question. Why do you think that black culture in America was so easily so easily enamored by Japanese manga? Because that's something we can see even today, still going on. A lot of young black kids like anime. It's basically like a rite of passage now. It's like, oh, you got to watch this one, that one, and this one, and then you know some stuff. You still gotta do your own research, find your own ones. But it's like it's a whole big, and it's so interesting too how that is reflected in Japan, because we have our like black anime manga fans that growing that community is growing every day, and then you have like the gyaru, in Japanese, those girls who like black girl style, and You got the hip hop dancers and stuff. So why do you think there might be that like kind of yeah? Because I noticed in out of those like the three most prominent East Asian countries, right? Japan seems to be the one that can link up with black people the most. Like Koreans are starting to do it too, but they're not I feel like they're not really on the same level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what angle should we hit this at? Like,
Let's
should we
start
talk
let's
about
start
the
with
whole
let's
group?
start with let's start with anime and manga in the black community.
And why is that?
Yeah, why?
Because people want. I mean, here's what I'll say. Naturally, I think people of knowledge, like people who are gentlemen, gentle women, they want to relate to some sense of moral. Like all these stories had some like solid principles that they were trying to pass along to a people, like how you should be, like how you shouldn't conduct yourself, how you should, and what happens to you when you act based on certain motives versus certain opponents, and like how each person and each character has their like strong points and weak points. I think the thing about anime and manga that really resonated with the people was it was an ideal. It was almost like what church was trying to teach you, but in the form of entertainment. So if you entertain someone and then you hide inside of it the lesson, they're gonna be more connected to the story and like the unfolding of events.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
so
you straight
true.
up try to like tell people, black people grow up really religious, so like try to follow and be obedient to like the religions their parents lay out for them. But these are all foreign religions, like for the most part, apart from like the original religious practices of humanity, which are universal and still within our DNA. Like DNA, not just a genetic code, it's built in some type of, random access memories that allow you to perfectly calculate your steps when you go to yourself a cup of coffee or pour yourself a cup of like Coca-Cola or whatever you got to drink on. Your mind is automatically pumping your heart. Your mind is automatically working your lungs. There's DNA, random access memory written in your brain's computer chip on how to do basic things. And you can relate to like things that are true on a universal level. So when people get clicked into this anime shit and they keep being taught these concepts of religion, and then they put it together to say, well,
Damn.
how is this? How are the people that I'm seeing in real life that are flawed and can't overcome their character flaws and they don't have self-awareness to overcome these things, try to teach me these lessons, but then I can see it happen and unfold in such a quick way in the form of entertainment. There also is like some type of maybe testosterone release or some type of feeling of anxiety release when you see people like get into a physical fight that shows like their skills in some way, shape, or form and the build up to that. So manga and anime are the religious tradition that people inherit when they start to see the flaws within the religion that's handed to them, which is also a foreign thing. So both things are foreign to what was written in people's DNA and memory since before the times of writing things, which allow community to grow to the extent where we're more successful at sustaining our life and finding food, shelter, and all the basic essentials that we need, clothing, if we needed it, having those things, and then forming that original religion that was based on the gratitude to nature for providing these things. So we didn't need to write things out. We didn't need to, be at odds with it at all times. We could still like fight or spar or learn something from somebody's style when they're being themselves, or breaking down some type of science of physics in order to protect their life. That those skills that were like basically built into the people, that DNA is always there. So when some story is real or has some type of universal theme, it connects to people in a supernatural way. And the consciousness of people and the way that manga is written, it's not just one dude sitting in a room like thinking this shit up. It's like people around him, it's his friends, it's people who are having conversations about morality, society, the destruction of nature. How can we present these deeper messages in a way to be entertaining for kids? And while we show these kids these images, how can we provide them a safe form of entertainment? And at the same time, they want to make it profitable. So like the editors of manga from the beginning thought about kids. They really thought about their mental development, and they would tell the manga artists to like take certain things out, put certain things in. Think about how the kids would interpret this message. Like, think about, now it's like probably super convoluted, but it was not just the thing of like, let me just randomly throw this shit out. It was like, no, how is our society being degraded after this war, where we're like basically destroyed by an enemy within our own nation in the form of those who are oppressing the people within Japan. And then when America came and kind of, attacked and killed people in order to like expedite the closing of the war, like seeing all this destruction and like the Japanese people losing all hope, losing all power as far as militarily, witnessing an atom crack on their island really, 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 really made people start from ground zero and like have to really pick themselves up. And in the same way, the Black community in America, like, we're disconnected from our original language. We're disconnected from our original way of life. We're disconnected from our forms of socializing. We're put into groups of people who are not at all coming from the same lifestyle sometimes. I mean, there's ways that people have like universal connectedness, and there's people from different cultures who can like bond and build and grow and share universal knowledge, but that universal knowledge is infinite. So, Japanese and Black people have both been defeated and kind of demoralized to an extent. So I think it's like a psychological thing too. So it's like the rejection of religion, the societal, like the characters being able to go through a lot of losing, and then being able to overcome their weaknesses and find some way to defeat their own enemies. But it's more about your own self-reflections and beating yourself up for not changing your life. So like, even when I go out and I get fucked up, like I try to think like, what could I have done better in that situation? Like, what I learned, like, can I take this pain from and transform into something beautiful? So like that goes back to the art forms too. So taking something that might be painful, something that might be humbling, and then reappropriating that thing in order to make it represent strength. And that's a whole thing about the African American community. Like Black people in America, they're really the most innovative at taking some shit that was meant to put you down, but then it's really lifting you up. Like that's really why people start taking like that negative shit and then turning it into positive shit. It's like, oh, you're gonna call us this, we're gonna call ourselves this, and we're gonna make that shit hot. Now you want to call yourself. It's like it's trolling at its greatest level. It's like, oh, yo, what is it? Oh yeah, we that, yeah, we that. And then they're like, oh, you that now? Oh, but oh man, we're trying to make that bad. Like, nah, that shit's hot. Nah, you want to be that.
That's exactly
like,
how hip hop
always
spread
taking the
too.
worst of shit.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how hip hop spread too, because it was the same thing. It's like taking a bad, terrible situation and turning it into a party, and now the world's trying to join the party. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, it's like twisting that, that it's like a way of jiu-jitsu. Like you take that one attack and then you redistribute that energy into a whole nother direction. We had to live like that, and we had to fight and survive the most devastating wars. Like people who were captured and taken from Africa, like had certain basic principles and certain guidelines and certain barriers that we wouldn't cross even when we're fighting an opponent. Like you don't go in and attack people while they're like making a prayer to their ancestor. There's like certain levels of decency that people had that actually in a way make you a weaker opponent. So if you have a great regard and you have a religious, belief that, okay, if somebody, even in like Star Wars, they try to show this image, like even in a moment when you're not engaging with the opponent, like a Jedi would maybe sit down and meditate. Like the thing about the meditation was, while he's meditating, he's connected to like some infinite power, but that's like an expression of his values. Like they're trying to show what character. Oh, my shit.
Yeah, you good now.
All right, wait, it's better.
Yeah.
Do I need to do something?
No. It's just like.
Yeah, I'm getting tired. It's like late out here. But
Yeah, I feel you.
yeah.
Yeah, so Fedor, man, I see you over there. Fedor was making his face like he just learned so much shit. This typical.
Yeah, that's right. And I have a question, rather. And now it's time for my monologue.
Go for it.
Because being a young teenager, since like I'm here in China since like 18, and now I'm about to turn 21. And I feel kind of the same, man. And I start to pity myself. I feel this sense of disappointment right now because
why?
I'm in China, right? Like I gotta explain it. As how you just described this strong connection, psychological one between like Black people and Manga. I feel this in the sense where I'm getting information and my knowledge, wisdom from people all across the globe, but not in China. I don't have a connection to this country, to the country, to the civilization that has like 5,000 years of history. And there's a big question, like why? I don't understand it. You know, like I've been here for like 4 years and haven't found like I have found something, but it's not as I would do this 30 minutes monologue and describe it so vividly and
Do it.
articulate it to this
Yeah.
level of being like feel of proud. You are proud of talking about this. Whereas me, I would feel rather a sense of disgust telling something about China. And that's I'm real. I'm being real right now because as I said before, I don't feel cool when I'm using Chinese language. It's like every time like fuck again, all right. I have no other option. So that's how I feel, man. I feel like Jesus Christ. Why? I don't understand why. You know, like you guys you've managed to find like a certain piece of art from people like completely different from you, but psychologically, mentally, they are strong as you are, and and that's how you guys got connected. But me being here and feeling this sense of regrets. Yeah, that's how I would put it, you know, of interacting with Chinese people, with the locals and stuff, with their culture and living here and like trying to check out some different places, culture, and having a lot of experience, good and bad, but still with no sense of hope. Probably that's the problem, you know. I have given up already for like there might be something that kind of just spark me up and be like, Fedor, yeah, you were wrong back then, you know. But that's how I feel, man. That's how I feel. It's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, China's a rough place. If you're looking for like some deep connection to that culture and you're not an insider, and even for Chinese people, I think at this point it's pretty hard to really get some solid wisdom in China because as we've talked about before, you know, they had a period of history where they were burning their books, they were erasing their history, and so now they're getting this artificial like future. Now they're being presented this artificial future, which everything is based on money, everything is based on status, representation in the world, and control and like status of their nation as an identifier. That's where I think they're going wrong. It's like they're doing well on like these economic metrics, but in terms of like actual human needs, human like animalistic human needs, they're completely casting it off. Whereas in the past, I always saw China as like that kind of those Confucian values were so, that was like their link to staying human. Like there was some control aspects to it of like, yeah, you have to follow these kind of rules. But in that like search, there was a search for understanding those things that allowed there to be people who could connect to it and people who couldn't. And nowadays, there's no exceptions. You can't just be a regular Chinese worker and not be working for like the betterment of greater Chinese society. That's how they've been, like their media has been kind of training them nowadays. It's like, yeah, you have to, even if your work is like you're like a janitor or something. Oh no, but your work is for the greater China, you know, and the greater China we know pushes everyone who doesn't look like them out. So a lot of people in China, I feel like because of that, are losing a sense of life being greater than just those like status and money symbols.
Or I would just I want to add, or rather just this noble idea of doing something for good or for like, you know, for the purpose of, you know, like the whole society better off, you know. So it's just like I like, to be honest, I would argue a little, because like when you if I was a janitor in Russia, I would probably like shit. But in China, like as being Chinese, right? The guy might feel just perfectly, because I'm janitor, but still I'm working for my country, you know. So there is no like dismal feeling of being unimportant in this life, you know. So,
Mm.
but at least to me, it's like, yo, I don't know if I'm gonna be if I gotta be a janitor. I don't think that I could like feel this, you know, connection to that. Yeah, make China great again, you know. They're gonna look at me and be like, yeah, no, no.
Yeah, because
Mm-mm.
that's the point, man. You come from, I mean, to analyze you, I would say that you were always in a middle situation. You were never too far in one way of thought, like a nationalist way of thought. You never like were fully, oh yeah, for Russia, and you've never been fully for China. You've always been on this like middle path, as I like to call it. So
Mm-mm.
that's why it allows you, if you were put
Human
in that
path.
situation, if you were put there, it allows you to be like, no, wait, yeah, am I really working for China? You would stop and ask yourself this question. Whereas those people can't, because they don't know. They've been only told, yeah, you're doing for China, you're doing for China. China got to be the best. Look at the Americans. Look at how they do. You know, this is the constant narrative. And because they don't have this freedom to exchange information in the same way, there's far less opposition, or the opposition is completely silent, you know. So I think that's why you have trouble.
Or rather, we're gonna come to this local level. There is no like free flow of information being exchanged among us, you know. Just like, oh, yo, what's up, man? Just share some story. Just one question, you know.
Mhm.
Ziri's monologue. First of all, I just got from everything, you know, just like on the shelf. I got it like a book.
Mhm.
There's no like sense of, oh, am I just gonna lose the face right now? Gonna express it? Like Chinese
Mhm.
might have this feeling when they're talking to me or something. Or like, oh, why Gordon? But it's fine, you know, I got it. At least I found a way how to fight the war, you know, fight this goddamn life. So I had zero. You
Mhm.
made it perfectly, like exactly. Turn you just gotta fight, you know. And this remark
Mhm.
that you add, like, even if you got like beaten up, you got some, you know, stitches and shit, you still have to like stand up and keep fighting. And that's
Yup.
like that's morality, man. That's your moral
Mhm.
code. And that's the moral code that being you know, inherit by black people and like manga lovers, you know, from
Yeah,
Japanese.
like there's a
That's
lot of quotes like people remember too, you know. And
yeah.
like tsunami in America, and I mean also like soldiers come in to America. They're exposed to like animation, and like my dad watched Japanese cartoons. My uncles watch Japanese cartoons. Like it's not a new thing. It's just with the internet, shit's just more available. But like people have always connected with it. It's not a new thing though, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
Japan and also China has like a deep martial arts history, and like there's people throughout history that have done some really amazing things. Like all people have great stories. I would say also like there's
Yeah. Black Jesus.
yeah, I actually made this one.
Oh, dude. On the what it says, man. The I don't understand. The eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, fear is in the eyes of the beholder. Like
The
this says, you know, which pill do you
damn.
want to shove up the ass? which 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 remedy, Dayquil or NyQuil? Like, what's your ailment?
Yeah.
You know?
Yo, that looks like firecrackers or something, man.
Yeah, it's just the beams of heaven coming out and purifying the medications for higher knowledge. This is like one thing I made recently. I made this actually like 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, I was living in a factory here and working on stuff.
Yo, Ziri, I have a question. Do Japanese buy your stuff, your merch?
Yeah, and people buy it. People in America like it a lot too.
Oh, so it's you're working for both markets, right?
Yeah,
Like-
I'm just making stuff that I want to exist for now, and just trying to learn as much as I can about production and learn as much as I can about creation, like the whole process.
Yeah, and I have another question. How is your social life in Japan, man? Do you have like a group of people, like artists as well, with whom you can share your like stuff and just
sometimes, yeah. I like, but it's not like big groups. Like I'm not that great with like super big groups. I'm better with like smaller groups where we can like have conversations and like share ideas. But here I've been connecting with more people. Like if I go to a park and I see some African people, I'll say, "Hey, what's up?" and like go play with them. Like I like been meeting people from some about their story. You know, if they are Muslim, like know what to say, like Assalamu alaikum, and talk to their kids, like talk to their like parents, like talk to people, like ask them how they're doing. Just because, like as a foreigner, like a lot of people look at you here and like don't say anything, and then sometimes it's like positive attention, negative attention. Some people might follow you. Then when you pull up and say, "Oh, how are you?" They like they don't know how to react, you know, because they don't have like a lot of these interactions. But
Damn.
you can tell when someone's looking at you or following you. Like you guys are following me, but now like once I'm talking to you, you don't want to talk. Like it's just awkward.
Yeah.
Socially.
Yeah. Speaking of awkwardness, yeah, we had encountered one of those situations before with me and Tarik in China, man. Like,
like you understand what they're saying. They don't. It's like they think their shit is so foreign. It's like they'll never know what I'm saying. Like, people can't feel energies and like know what's happening.
Yeah, dude, that's right. Absolutely.
So the social life is good. I have like good friends in all different walks of life, all different tax brackets, different types of people, and I try to like maintain like healthy relationships. And I have some people like not too many like artists. A lot of people here, I would say people can screw and they confuse artistic skill with technical skill. There's a lot of technicians, people who are technical, people who are meticulous, but they're not like they're not artists and they're not articulate to an extent where they're voicing their own thoughts through what they're doing. It's more like they're reinterpreting something or like they're emulating something they see. It's less of a conversation of this is what I see based on this bigger calculation of this big data, which is reality, which is the news, which is propaganda, which is stereotypes. Like they're not in tune with this infinite flow of, and they're not taking in putting out something as far as like here's what I have to say about this. Like, here's an answer or another question or statement based on what's critically happening in reality right now. And like, I think there's people who are like technicians, visual people, but they're not messing with deep material at this point, as far as like people I've met. Like, more so as far as visuals, no, not that I met, but there's more people who are doing sounds and people who are creating music that I know that are doing that, but not in Japan really as much. Like, it's not a mental thing. A lot of the people I know that are more like looking thoroughly at reality are like getting into politics, or most people really don't have that social consciousness here as far as like what I think a great artist is. Like, someone who's looking at reality, fighting against stereotypes, fighting against destructive culture through their own form of freedom of expression.
Damn, I just wrote this down. Social consciousness, man. That's gonna be the name of our podcast, I guess. Yeah, and I have another infinite. Yeah, I have another question, man. How do you like Japanese girls? Have you any experience with them? Like, who are they?
I've got experiences, horror stories, good stories.
Yeah,
they're nice, but I wouldn't say I'm specifically into like one like type of girl or like one ethnicity of girl, one whatever. Like, it's definitely different than American girls in basic ways, and a lot of it has to deal with like their ways of communication, but also has to deal with the culture. And like, women all around the world, regardless of ethnicity, are always taking a lot of shit in society. I mean, a lot of women like fuck shit up too. Like, it's an equal thing, but a lot of women, especially young women and girls, like, they get abused by older guys and like hurt people. It's like a lot of those, cycles. So a lot of people don't know how to trust, and there's a lot of girls here that look cute enough that they can get away with a lot of shit. And they get to the point where
that's a good way to put it.
They're like manipulating situations in their life and like manipulating guys, and like, the guys are like, we definitely want something sometimes, but the girls here, there's a lot of kind ones. There's a lot of love to be given, but once you start getting too deep into shit, and like once you have a conversation with them about how you feel as a human being, sometimes they'll get confused. And the maturity level between a 30-year-old, 20-year-old, even a 10-year-old in America versus a maturity level of a 10-year-old, 20-year-old, and 30-year-old in Japan are different. And the community and the values here are weighed differently.
It's like upside down, I guess. Upside down.
It's like, sideways, where like people are definitely on some really crazy shit at times.
Yeah, like would you share some of your bad stories with them, like bad interactions you said you have?
Like, bad interaction would probably be like, go visit a girl. She like go get invited to her place. Get there. She's showing all these signs of like, risking some entanglements. So you're like being cool, being respectful, but you're still being a man at the same time. And then
The
like
fine
chick just
line.
starts crying.
Crying.
Yeah, and yeah, like often like, oh, you want to take a shower? Oh, you want to do anything? Yeah, we get fresh, get nice, do this, look around her place, and like, you might find some suspicious items. Like, you might have a conversation, like ask her, like, are you, like, what's your like, deal with America? Like, what do you think of America? Or like maybe they had an ex-boyfriend who was a Marine or something, or I don't know. It's like you can't really ask those questions and like feel comfortable with people sometimes. Sometimes those questions like come with a lot of trauma too. But like this chick was basically, she just kept crying and like she wouldn't explain why. And I was like, are you all right? And she's like, well, one day I'll tell you, but not now. Maybe a week or 2 weeks or something. Like, all right, that's fine. Like, I just like relax and rest till sunrise and be on my way. But I don't know if the expectation is for me to like keep being persistent with her, and like, I don't know what she's expecting. Like, I'm not gonna do some shit that's completely creepo, uncomfortable. Like, I never really can disrespect a woman, like, especially being raised like around women, like raised mostly with my mom, like 99%, almost like 98%, mostly like around her. And like when it comes to women, can't really ever fight them, can't really argue with them, you can't do anything. Like, you just gotta like let them be what they're gonna be. And
Yeah.
the best thing you could do sometimes, encourage them to keep going down the wrong path till they get fucked up, and then they gotta change on their own. You gotta hit them with the reverse psychology thing. Unless they're like mature enough to like actually do something good for themselves and
Yeah,
others.
that's true. That's true. We know exactly one girl, exactly the same kind of situation. Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right. Goddamn right. Level of maturity. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Ziri, you don't feel bored, you don't feel like tired of Japan. You don't want to go back.
Nah, I like it. I love it. There's a lot more for me to learn, and it ain't time to really go the fuck anywhere. Like with this shit going on right now, it's not the time. It's
Yeah.
not the time to get on a plane or like go somewhere. It's like the vibes is not positive in the world. People are really on edge, and people
Yeah.
can't breathe with these masks on. I don't know what people are talking about. Like, it does affect the way that you breathe. I know, like, as doing athletics, like, get on a bike in the summer and put a mask on and ride your hardest. You're like, people are shortening their breath too. Like, people's temper and their breath are shorter now. People are on, you can hear it, you can feel it, you can hear it in the way people drive, you can hear it in the way people move. It's real. It's really happening. People are feeling some type of way.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Fedor, I thought you were gonna
the
say
world.
something, man. You look like
No,
you
no,
like.
no. It's like Ziri is just
People
posing,
are feeling some
I
type
like
of way.
I like your posture, man. It's cool, Really really artistic. But yeah, I got it, man. I kind of understand. I got all the situation. Yeah, the best podcast so far, I would say. And to me, it's just like, damn, a lot of revelations. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there more of Ziri's characters?
The Yo, that reminds me. Damn, there was a cartoon with like a cup, fries, and meatball.
Oh,
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force. This is like
Yeah.
my homie, one of my friends. He made this. It's like 3 different people, maybe
Yo,
4 different designers on one
your
jacket.
connection is not as good. Could you go back to the other room? Like the video is lagging a lot more where you're at.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
or
Yeah, your video.
how can I change it?
I don't know. Maybe go back to the other room or something. Or it might just be because your computer's getting hot. I know that actually
Yeah, it's getting a little hot.
that adds to the lag.
Yeah, it's getting hot. We might have to
Yeah,
do a
yeah,
part 2.
yeah. We could do a part 2. You know, we covered a
We should
lot.
do a part 2.
We covered a lot in
We
this
could
Covered a
do
lot.
yeah, part 3 and part 6 as well, dude. It's been
Yeah,
crazy. Thank you very much. Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna do this again. Yeah, we going for 2 hours right now almost. Damn near.
Oh yeah, and like it's your like so you're like 12 p.m. right? It's like already
Yeah,
it's Monday already. Yeah, all right.
yeah. I gotta go to work soon.
Yeah, but yo, Tarik, final words, man. Final words.
Well, you
Final
know, man,
words, God.
my bro Ziri, man, I met this guy like fuck, man. It's been like 5 years or something already. We known each other for a while. We always vibe out, you know, when we
Yeah, it
talk.
might be longer, man. It might be longer, but yeah, I think it is like about 5. About 5.
So it's always great when we link
Maybe
up.
no, it might be like 7. It might be like no, it might be up there now. 6. Damn.
Yeah, something like that. But it was definitely good to hear from you, man. And we will continue to discuss the many things of life in the
Yeah,
future.
that's right. On the podcast and off air, damn. And I'm super close to you, dude. It's like damn. Like 2 hours flight
Yeah.
probably. So it's just
Yeah,
like, but
once
I
the
did
shit clears up, I'm gonna be moving too. I'm gonna come visit.
try
Pull up.
China, man. Nah, China, it's not a good place to visit, to be honest,
For
But
like a couple of days, it's all right though.
yeah. A couple of days fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
They
guys
got.
should
I know
should
they
meet
got
in
some good
Taiwan.
noodles over there.
You guys should meet in Taiwan. That's
Oh
what
yeah, I
I
like
think.
Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Taiwan's sick. I've been there a couple of times though.
Oh.
China, I ain't never really got in there like that. Like really start exploring. I kind of would be interested to see some wild shit,
Some wild shit. Hey,
some different stuff.
wild shit. All right. Wild shit. I gotta think about it, man. Cause like wild shit in China, I don't think so, dude. I don't think so.
Yeah, you might see some naked babies peeing in the street. That's probably as wild
Yeah.
as it gets.
That's all.
Yes, that is.
So you still got that orange shit, man. You still got that orange swag.
Yeah. All
That
day,
orange
every day, man.
Agent Orange Lightning.
The god of orange. That's right.
Yeah. Don't say tangerine.
Nah.
You will
nah,
get
man.
offended.
It's a very specific color, very specific saturation, you know. Yeah, we'll talk about that next time, the power of orange.
Yeah.
But, all right, man.
Yeah.
It's been great.
That should be the next one. Yeah, it's been good. Finally, glad we got this going. Sorry it took a little while.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I understand. Everybody's figuring stuff out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah. All right,
I've been
dude.
trying to do it.
peace out, everybody.
Peace.